Okay, let's proceed on to our next section where we see the single word disguised plus this graphic of the Lone Ranger and a little ink splotch here. And that is all within this Dude 04 composition that we brought in from Illustrator. And it's only these three graphics here that you see in the layers palette that we're going to bring in. And we don't need the weather vane in this one, and the background layers are already in. So I'm just going to copy those, go to Dude Main, and paste. Now let's bring those below our other compositions. And remember, we do have, just because we don't see all our other compositions here, remember that some of those layers have been shied. If I click on that shy icon, you can see that those layers are in fact still there. But I'm going to click on shy here. And in fact, I'm going to shy this layer here, playing A. That was our last section. And there we go. Now we just have these three layers showing. And I've also reworked our work area so that I've extended it just a little bit to get the word disguised into our work area. And I'll just scrub our timeline so you can see where we're at. And because we've pasted these new layers in, we need to trim the layer indicators so that they appear only when we want them, which is right about here. And in fact, let's do a little audio preview. I'll hold down the command button and we'll just really determine exactly when the word disguised is coming in. But you can almost hear the D as he's beginning to say the word disguise right here. So let's trim that work area. Now I've got all three layers selected, so I just have to hover over one of those layer indicators and all of them will be trimmed to that point right there. And so we now have the word disguised and those graphics associated with it coming in right at that point, which is good. Just as the other graphics are exiting our screen, this one comes on our screen. Now we have to think a little bit about how we want these to come on. Because the word disguised is such a brief part of this, I don't think we have a whole lot of time to do some fancy entrances onto our screen. So for example, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to have all these graphics come on at the same time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-compose these again, and then work with them all as a single graphic. So again, I'm going to go up to the Layers drop-down menu, select Pre-compose, and we're going to say OK. Let's call this Disguised, so we know what is in this comp, Disguised. And of course, this opens it up in a new timeline, but we don't want to work in this timeline. We want to go back to Dude Main. And remember, now we have this new pre-comp just called Disguised. And if I just scrub through the timeline here, you can see that Disguised, even though we have the layer indicator showing us that it's going from the beginning of the composition, it really only just comes in at this point here. So we can trim this just to keep it a little bit neat and tidy. There we go. Now, like I say, I would like to work with this graphic as a whole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal its scale properties. I press S on the keyboard. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it spin on kind of like what we've done with our graphics, our earlier graphics of the characters, where we just play with the X scale. So I'm going to unlink these two values, and I'm going to create a keyframe right at this point here, because that's right where it comes on. Actually, no, it comes on a little bit sooner. I'm going to bring it right when it comes on. There we go. And I'm going to, again, move it out just a couple of frames, and I'm going to put another keyframe here. Now I know I haven't done any animation here, but what I'm going to do is I want this disguise to be completely rotated at this point here, meaning that it's going to have to start spinning at this keyframe. So it's this keyframe here that I'm going to change its X value, and I'm going to drag that all the way down to 0. And sometimes the sliders are hard to control. Sometimes it's easier just to click once on that and type in the value. I'm going to type in 0. There we go. So now we see this spin on. But again, it's spinning on in a very sort of static way. We would like it to come in and perhaps maybe stretch out a little bit further. So let's do that. Let's have it stretch out beyond 100% on its X value, and then it'll pop back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit beyond that keyframe in the timeline, and I'm going to stretch this out. And let's see, I might also change its scale. I should have thought about that. No, actually, no. This will work fine. I think I'll just work with this. Maybe what I'll do is I'll change its rotation. Let me go back here. That might work. That might give it a bit more activity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal its rotation value as well as its scale value. To do that, I'm going to hold down the Shift button and the R button, and that'll show me both the scale and the rotation. And I'm going to put a keyframe right here for this for the rotation value. So it's right where it's supposed to be, but right here where it starts to really stretch out, I'm going to change its rotation just a little bit. I'm going to rotate it out just a little bit, and so it really kind of stretches out and rotates. Maybe, you know what? No, that's good like that. I think that's fine. And then I want it to come back to its regular spot. So I mean, what I want is for the rotation to be at 0 and the scale to be at 100%. So what I need to do is I need to select that keyframe for rotation. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it right there so that we have this sort of activity. And for the scale, I'm going to select this keyframe where it's at 100%, copy that, and paste that here. So we have that sort of activity. And we'll see how that works. In fact, you will probably have to tighten up these keyframes just a little bit. And remember, there's a nice easy way of doing that. Rather than moving each keyframe individually, what I can do is select all of them and hold down the Option button and just tighten all those values. So what happens is all that activity happens a little bit quicker, and it takes place over fewer frames in our timeline. Let's do a quick little RAM preview. I'm going to rework my beginning of my work area so we don't have to see all of the other stuff that we've already done, and I'm just going to press play and see what that well, that worked out fairly well, actually. There will probably be some tweaks at the end, but that's working just fine for me right now. In our next video, we are going to work on the very last section.